What if everything you think you know about sleep is wrong? Most people treat sleep as the absence of activity, a kind of nightly shutdown where the body powers down and the mind goes dark. But neuroscientists now know that the moment you close your eyes, your brain shifts into one of the most productive and complex operating modes it ever enters. In fact, certain regions of your brain are actually more active during sleep than when you are wide awake and solving a difficult problem. That fact alone should make you rethink every time you felt guilty about getting an extra hour of rest. Sleep is not downtime. It is prime time for your brain, and what happens during those hours shapes your memory, your emotional health, your immune system, and even your ability to have creative breakthroughs the next day. Scientists have spent decades trying to understand exactly how this works, and what they have found is genuinely astonishing. We are talking about a biological process so sophisticated that no computer on Earth comes close to replicating it. There are multiple distinct stages of sleep, each one performing a different job, and if you skip even one of them, the consequences ripple through your waking life in ways you can feel but might not be able to explain. Tonight, your brain will replay the experiences of your day, decide which memories to keep, strip away the ones it considers unnecessary, and scrub itself clean of toxic waste that builds up while you are awake. So let us pull back the curtain on what your brain is actually doing while you sleep, because the story is far stranger and more wonderful than you ever imagined. Here is one of the most mind-bending discoveries in modern neuroscience. While you sleep, your brain literally replays the events of your day, but it does so at high speed, sometimes up to 20 times faster than the original experience. Researchers first spotted this in rats navigating mazes. When the animals fell asleep, the same pattern of neurons that fired while running the maze fired again in the same sequence during sleep. The brain was rehearsing. It turns out humans do the same thing. The process is called memory consolidation, and it is one of the primary jobs of sleep. During the day, your hippocampus acts like a temporary hard drive, capturing everything you experience. It is fast but limited. While you sleep, particularly during a phase called slow-wave sleep, the hippocampus replays those recordings and transfers the most important ones to the neocortex, your brain's long-term storage system. Think of it like moving files from a USB drive to a much larger and more permanent server. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Your brain does not just copy everything over, it is selective. It strengthens the memories linked to emotion, novelty, and repetition, while quietly letting go of the trivial details. That is why you can remember the punchline of a joke you heard once at a party years ago, but forget where you put your keys this morning. The emotional tagging system your brain uses during consolidation decides what is worth keeping. Studies have shown that students who sleep after studying remember significantly more material than those who stay awake, even when the total time spent is the same. Sleep is not wasted study time, it is when the studying actually sticks. If slow-wave sleep is your brain's filing department, then REM sleep is its creative studio. REM stands for rapid eye movement, and during this stage, something truly bizarre happens. Your eyes dart back and forth under your eyelids, your body becomes temporarily paralyzed, and your brain generates some of its most vivid and illogical experiences in the form of dreams. But REM sleep is far more than just a nightly cinema of strange imagery. Researchers have discovered that during REM, the brain does something it almost never does while awake. It begins making unusual and distant connections between memories and ideas that are stored in completely different regions. It strips away the strict logical associations that govern waking thought and allows concepts to collide in unexpected ways. The result is a mental state uniquely suited to creative problem solving. Some of history's most famous breakthroughs appear to have been influenced by this process. The chemist Auguste Kekule reportedly worked out the ring structure of benzene after dreaming of a snake biting its own tail, though the precise details of that story have been debated. What is not debated is the science behind it. Harvard psychologist Deirdre Barrett spent years studying how people use sleep to solve problems they were stuck on, and she found that when people focus on a specific challenge before sleeping, REM sleep frequently produces a useful new angle or insight by morning. There is even a measurable effect called the sleep on it phenomenon, where people are statistically more likely to find elegant solutions to puzzles after a full night of sleep versus staying awake and grinding through them. Your brain's creative engine runs best when you are not consciously driving it. Now here's the chapter that might genuinely change how you feel about skipping sleep. In 2013, a neuroscientist named Mike Nedegar and her team at the University of Rochester published a paper that stunned the scientific community. They discovered a previously unknown waste clearance system in the brain, which they named the glymphatic system. And here is the critical detail: it almost exclusively operates while you are asleep. During the day, your brain's billions of neurons are firing constantly, and that metabolic activity produces waste products. One of the most significant of these is a protein called amyloid beta. You might recognize that name because it is the same protein that accumulates in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease. It is essentially neural garbage, and if it builds up over time, it becomes toxic. The glymphatic system is your brain's sanitation service. While you sleep, the glial cells that surround your neurons actually shrink in size by up to 60%. This opens up channels in the brain tissue, and cerebrospinal fluid rushes through, flushing out the accumulated waste and carrying it away to be processed by the liver and kidneys. It is a full biological power wash happening inside your skull every single night. When you chronically cut your sleep short, this cleanup process does not get enough time to finish the job. Waste proteins accumulate. And while scientists are careful not to draw a simple straight line between sleep deprivation and Alzheimer's, multiple large studies have found a meaningful association between people who consistently sleep fewer than 6 hours a night and higher rates of cognitive decline later in life. The brain you protect at night is the brain you rely on every day. So what happens when the brain does not get the sleep it desperately needs? The answer is both fascinating and sobering. After just one night of poor sleep, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational decision-making and impulse control, begins to underperform. The amygdala, which handles emotional reactions and threat responses, becomes overactive and disconnected from its usual regulator. In practical terms, you become more reactive, more anxious, less able to find the right words, and noticeably worse at reading other people's facial expressions. Studies have found that sleep-deprived people are significantly worse at identifying whether someone's expression signals fear or friendliness. Your social brain goes offline. After several consecutive nights of short sleep, the effects compound in ways that brain imaging makes shockingly visible. Connections between regions weaken, processing speed drops, and the memory consolidation we talked about earlier grinds almost to a halt. Here is the part that should really stick with you. Research by psychologist David Dinges showed that people who slept 6 hours a night for 2 weeks performed just as poorly on cognitive tests as people who had been kept awake for 24 hours straight. But crucially, those 6-hour sleepers did not feel impaired. They adapted to the fog. They had, in essence, forgotten what feeling sharp actually feels like. The good news is that the brain is remarkably responsive to good sleep. Even a few nights of prioritizing full rest can begin to reverse many of these effects. Your brain is not just resting when you sleep. It is filing, creating, cleaning, and restoring itself from the inside out. If you found that as mind-blowing as we did, hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a fascinating fact about the world hiding right inside your own head.